We created this band when we were living in California, in Mill Valley. My brother and I used to enjoy Jewish music. We grew up in Brooklyn in the 1940s, and we both remembered going to weddings and bar mitzvahs and listening to this wonderful Jewish music at all of these affairs. And Gloria grew up in Minneapolis, and she also remembers all of this music. So when we were living in California, we would play this music occasionally. And one day we were at a friend's home in San Francisco, and my brother and I were sitting at the same piano, and my brother's a really good pianist, and we were playing these songs together. And Gloria was singing the songs. And one of the fellows at the party, David Wise, also knew the words to the song, so he started singing them with us. And before the evening was over, we had a little ensemble playing this music. And we were inspired to get together again and do this music again. So gradually, as we would do this, friends would come around, and they were able to contribute their memories and their talent until we started to form this little ensemble.
So we started our Tuesday night rehearsals. Every single Tuesday night we had a rehearsal with a delicious potluck after, and the group kept growing, and all kinds of miracles happened.
Different people would come. Some would stay, some would not stay. And eventually we sorted ourselves into this group. I put an ad in a group called the Balalaika and Domer Association of America newsletter and found a balalaika player. We were interested at that time mostly in Russian music, as well as Hebrew and Israeli music. Klezmer was not a word that was that popular at that time. So we would start to play these tunes from memory. We had no sheet music. We just played spontaneously. Gradually, some really fine musicians started to come around. At one point in time, we met these two remarkable brothers, Joseph and Nathan, who were rabbis and cantors who had moved to California from the East Coast. And they brought other musicians with them. So Joshua Burke was was our violinist who came in. He used to play in the Hollywood Symphony Orchestra, and he was a studio musician. But he stopped wearing his glasses when his son died several years before, so he could only play from memory and from his heart. So he would do these songs with us, and gradually we got to be actually pretty good.
And especially when David Wise put an ad in the paper for more vocalists, and that's when Arela Bar-Lev, who is an Israeli and a cantor extraordinaire, as well as Leah, our Russian soprano. How do you say her last?
Leah Huffling.
Huffling, but it was Leah...
Oh, Kushnirskaya.
Kushnirskaya. When they both joined us, boy, were we inspired, and our repertoire just multiplied like crazy, and more Russian and more Hebrew and more cantorials, and all this authentic music from all over the world started bubbling up from our group. It was so exciting.
We may have been the first klezmer band that helped to spark the re-interest in klezmer music in the United States.
So we were really blossoming and performing at all the best venues, including the Great American Music Hall, the Sleeping Lady, the Julia Morgan Theater.
We played at the Grace Cathedral.
At Grace Cathedral. That was quite an experience.
And we had a regular gig at the Cafe Trieste in North Beach. You know, and this is in San Francisco. They have every Saturday, they have opera, grand opera in their cafe, and the place is always packed. So we would go there one Tuesday night a month, and the place was always packed.
People standing in the streets in North Beach. It was so exciting. And then one time, Rick Springfield was in a movie that was filmed there, and our band played Orchestra, and that was so exciting. It was, and so we are in Hard to Hold, which is a movie that was put out, and then also Trepak was taken from our CD for Angelo My Love, which is a Gypsy movie that was...
It was made by Robert Duvall about gypsies in New York State. So he used our song Trepak. So we are internationally famous. And
it was just contagious. It was so joyful.
I'm an orthopedic surgeon. So I was in practice in Marin County. And one day, a guy came to my office who had a knee problem. The guy was a little nervous around doctors, but he had somebody who he was working with, I think it was his attorney, who knew me and thought that I would be okay, I could get along with him. So he comes into my office, and of course it's Mickey Hart. So I looked at his knee. It wasn't anything too terrible. I showed him what to do for the knee, and we started to get to know each other a little bit, and we connected a little bit, and we seemed to like each other. And we started to talk about music, and we talked about drumming, and we talked about the Golden Gate Gypsy Orchestra. And I would tell him about this from time to time, and he got intrigued with this. And so he was intrigued, I think, because, first of all, the group, as I described it, was really energetic, and also it was authentic, and also the musicians in it were quality musicians. And these are things that matter very much to Mickey. So, you know, we started to connect. My brother and I actually operated on Mickey's back. I don't think this is sharing medical confidentiality, but he had to have this disc operation on his back, and then 1 month later he had to perform in Madison Square Garden with the Grateful Dead for tens of thousands of people. And the operation was a success, I'm happy to tell you. And so our friendship developed, and I don't know who got the idea to make an album. Well, it was to make an LP. I think it was Mickey's.
Well, I think we were all talking about it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if?
Yeah. And then Mickey started to think, yeah, it could be great to do this. And Mickey at the time was very keenly interested in world music. And he wanted to get authentic music from around the world. And we, you know, I had listened to his music for years. Not just the Grateful Dead, but his ethnic music. And so we started to develop this idea. We recorded it at the Nautilus Gymnasium in Marin County, in San Rafael, California. Mickey chose that venue because it was a wooden structure with wooden walls, and it had great acoustics. And this was going to be an acoustic recording, and he did it direct to stereo using the latest equipment. The first night, we started at around 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and we went right through until the next morning. And we played and we played and we played, and that was just to set the levels. We thought we were being recorded. But then we got together the second night, and we were really charged up. And again, we played from about 9 or 10 o'clock at night until 5 a.m. And we were hot. I mean, we were so charged up with adrenaline. One of the members in the band pointed out that we never played the music that fast or that well.
Yeah, those balalaikas were really going fast.
Really going.
Their hands were moving. You couldn't even see it. It was just action. It was just action. And everybody was really up for this, even though we were all exhausted. Leah, our soprano, she couldn't talk. She lost her voice, but she could sing. And boy, did she sing. And everybody came through, and we were all listening to each other so carefully, and it was a moment in time to remember.
Joshua, we recorded the cut called Joshua's Yiddish Mama at 5 a.m. in the morning, everyone was exhausted. We were running on fumes, but we were still just charged up. You know, you're tired and you're also charged up. And he did it in one take. He played this exquisite, exquisite melody. He was reconnecting with his own mother as he was playing the song, and that was the final take, and we used it on the album just as he recorded it.
And he combined it with Vivaldi's Four Seasons, and it was just impromptu, and it was perfect.
It was amazing stuff. Oh, the beauty of this was that Mickey decided to do this direct to stereo because he realized that if he mic'd each one of us individually and we had to get together and discuss balance and stuff like that,
Oy vey.
our band was marked by, shall we say, a multiplicity of opinions. And that wasn't going to work. And Mickey knew it. So Mickey just took it direct to stereo. And if you listen to the recording, it really sounds like somebody is present in a gypsy camp with a recording machine and is walking in and out of the circle. So sometimes you hear one instrument more, sometimes another, and it's really evocative of a gypsy camp just getting together to play. And you know, one of the marks of a quality recording is that the more you listen to it, the more you want to listen to it. It stands the test of time. So we still listen to it, our friends still listen to it, and it still has that exciting living quality. So once this was done, we listened to it. We all had a discussion, but it was clear that it was well done, and Mickey had done a good job. Then it had to be then the album had to be pressed, the first cutting. And this is the old technology of making LPs. And I remember Mickey taking us into the bowels of this mystical studio called Fantasy Studios. And George Horn, who is a real wizard, carved this album for us. And when it was done, it was amazing. It was just so beautiful. What is klezmer music? The word probably comes from two Hebrew words that mean either play music or vessels of song. And sometimes it's described as Jewish jazz. But actually, the music originated before, during, and after the turn of the last century in Eastern Europe. And it was music played by Jewish musicians. And of course, in those years, and in that part of the world, the musicians were a lower class of people, so they were either Jews or Gypsies or Armenians. And these were the people who created the popular music of most of the countries in those areas. So this music was lively. It was played at festive occasions. And when these musicians came over to the United States, they were attracted to the jazz idiom. And the music became very popular in the United States in the first half of the last century. But when I grew up, it wasn't called klezmer. It was called Yiddish music or Freilich music. Freilich means happy. It wasn't until the revival of this kind of music that the word klezmer started to become more popular. So our music could also be described as folk music. So we have on this particular album Russian music, Israeli music, Yiddish music, and then our style of playing also includes the Broadway tunes and music of that genre. And the newer klezmer bands are adding more and more stuff that they're finding from authentic sources in Eastern Europe.
We also had some bouzouki on it.
We had Greek music also, bouzouki. So it's a mix of all of that music. The other part is we had to have a cover for it.
For the LP.
So David Wise drew the image for the front of it, and then Leah Kushnirskaya did the trim around the side of it. And I think I wrote the copy for the back of it. We all had our individual photos on it. We listed our friends on it that we wanted to thank. We even wanted to thank the commissary. We had some friends who provided food, because what's a Jewish band without food?
Right.
The way we end all of our performances is as follows. And we are the Golden Gate Gypsy Orchestra of America and California, otherwise known as the Traveling Jewish Wedding, and we are available for your next affair.